Welcome back for the second segment of the July 8th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
Three more races to bring you. We'll take a look at the Dwyer a little bit later on, but we'll start off with race number 7 from July 1st. This is a $65,000 maiden claimer at a mile on the turf. The horse we're looking at is the 9 Dynamite Dude, who's dropping in for the tag for the first time.
Yeah, and he's dropping back. He's on the far outside. We're going to put an arrow. That's our new idea for the show. An arrow. He's all the way to the back. He'll end up on the rail very soon. And Dynamite Dude is kind of an interesting horse because he doesn't appear to have so much of a trip. He'll have a little trouble in the stretch. Now, I'm not sure that was, the major stumbling block for him, but he's just buried inside, never had a chance to run.
Yeah, I thought the stretch would be interesting to show for him here, just because he does get in the traffic there, and it looks like there's a chance where he can make a run, and then all of a sudden he gets into traffic once again there. So it was a tough run through the lane for a Dynamite Dude who really hadn't shown much in 3 prior maiden special weight efforts. So this was probably the go race, dropping in for $65,000.
Yeah, he was first time maiden claiming race on the turf here, and he's a horse that has a little bit of ability and certainly can be a lot closer. This was also another one of these races, and the fractional times have been very difficult to understand this year at Belmont, especially on the Widener. I mean, I understand, and here he is back here, I understand the slow fractions on the inner going a mile and 16th because of the weird course, especially in the early part, and that's why the fractions are slow and the lack of a run-up. But the fractions have been very odd because you see this race, 24-2, 49-2, yet the race ended up collapsing. It really makes no sense.
Yeah, these races used to go, a race like this, I would say a couple years ago, we're going 23-3, 47 and change, maybe something like that. Never anything this slow, going a mile on the Widener. I wonder if it's just, the jockeys are trying to rate their horses more, if there's something else going on.
There's something else going on.
We'll take a look at the 9 horse here, Dynamite Dude, who has that inside position, gets shut off here in the upper stretch, and then, looks like he's going to be able to find some room getting toward the outside here, but then again, finds himself trapped in between horses.
Yeah, and it's also a problem of being jammed down the inside. You want to get out in the middle of the course and try to make a run. And Al, you can see Alex Solis is riding him. He knows that he can't win, and he's not doing anything abusing his horse, but it seems like Dynamic Dude has some run here. Now, on the other hand, he never did any running early, so not surprisingly, he has a little run at the end. He's just a horse, I think, who just deserves another chance and never had a fair chance in this race.
Yeah, and I don't think his line will be too pretty either, with a mid-pack finish and never really being close to the pace or close to lead at any point in the race. So he could be a good horse to bet back next time out.
And he was 8-1 here. How much lower can he possibly be?
All right, let's take a look at the Dwyer now, a race that featured some very nice 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. We're most interested in the 6 Cool Blue Red Hot, but we'll talk about the dynamics of the race as well. The winner is the 2 Dominus, who gets to the lead. I think he's a pretty talented horse, but he had everything his own way here.
Yeah, all 3 of the first finishers are confirmed talented horses, but Dominus, you can just see it here. Unlike the other race with the excruciatingly slow pace where everybody didn't look like they were grabbing, this race you can see them all grabbing here, and this played so much in the hands of Dominus, who's a talented horse. And Adios Charlie, I get they want to try to teach him to rate, but I think in this situation they needed to use his natural speed a little more to make Dominus have to run, because if he had been more aggressively ridden the outside, Dominus would have gone. He'd have had a fairer pace, and Cool Blue Red Hot would have also had a fairer chance.
Yeah, and Cool Blue Red Hot may have had a chance to win the race. Right here, the way it's setting up, Cool Blue Red Hot's in last toward the outside, and with 2 very talented horses on the front end here, getting things pretty easily in the early stages of the race. Cool Blue Red Hot really up against it.
Yeah, and even Harlan's Hello used to have speed and was ambitiously placed. They took him out of his game as well. There's Cool Blue Red Hot. He's only about 5 lengths from the lead here around the half-mile pole. This is a horse who wants to settle back in the field and make one big run. Now, I understand when you bet deep closers, one of the problems is they become at the mercy of the pace. But in this situation, there appeared to be more pace, so not only did he not get the pace to close into, he's forced to be closer than he wanted to be, and he forced his rider, John Velasquez, to have no choice but to make this premature move.
Yeah, and I wonder, too, going forward, if he ends up in races like the Jim Dandy and maybe the Travers, if he just might be better off around 2 turns, where there probably will be a little bit more of a pace going on into the first turn.
Especially when you think about Saratoga. I would run this horse, the Jim Dandy. Absolutely. He belongs with these horses. Because you think of Saratoga in those mile and 8th races last year. The speed was speed. There was some time when speed did well, but there were many, many races up there where you see they really are tests of stamina, and speed doesn't hold up so well. And I think it's a good chance. You think of last year's Travers, though that at an honest pace, but I think he'll have a good chance. And I know he's not finishing well here, but he's not finishing well because he wants to make his move at the 3/16 to 8 pole, and he made it around the 5/16 pole way too early and way too slow a pace.
Yeah, I think he's a real talented horse, worth keeping an eye on down the road in the 3-year-old picture. And the top 2, I think, could also turn out to be very nice horses. And I think that the Summer Classic races, the Travers, the Jim Dandy, the Haskell, those would be really neat races with this new wave of 3-year-olds being being involved.
I totally agree. Shackelford's the top of the heap of the horses that aren't injured right now, but it's not like he's that far ahead of any of these horses.
Okay, we'll take a look at one more race on Trips and Traps. This is from July 4th. It's race number 7, a non-winners of 1 allowance, going 7 on the turf.
Kind of a funny race because I wouldn't say the race collapsed, but I think you were helped if you were a horse who was able to get himself some position, because actually the first 2 finishers are reasonably close here and end up getting taken back. Now, we've got the 10 outside there. We've also got the eventual horse we're talking about, Mighty Lover, is in there. He'll let a couple of horses go outside of him, but I thought he was too much in the teeth of the battle, and the same for Freud's debut, the 10.
Yeah, I agree, and I got to correct myself. This is a mile and a 16th on the inner turf course, a state-bred maiden special. I spoke there, you're wrong conditions before, but this is one of the things as a horse player that always kind of frustrated me a little bit. You know, the pace is slow. You have a chance with the 1 Mighty Lover to be, you know, in a clear spot. Either you take him back or you put him on the lead by yourself. Don't get involved in this middle range thing where you're rating the horse and you end up in a pace battle with 2 other horses when you could have been sitting in behind or you could have been in front, you know, on an easy loose lead.
Yeah, I think the point you're making, and I don't disagree with you, is you have to make a decision. You know, you're either going or you're not going. And in this case, he kind of tripped back and he went up. I hear what you're saying, and it didn't work well for him. And poor Freud's debut is also stuck 3 wide. I mean, they're right there. He's second and he's third. And a Tetlon, who is the favorite, who ends up getting beaten in those, he's settled back into a comfortable spot there. The eventual winner is back there. The horse, I'll tell you something, I like Mighty Lover out of this race because he battles back and he battles back hard despite the indecisive positioning. Freud's debut ran fine. Both of these horses I would love to bet against a Tetlon with. A Tetlon's a Chad Brown horse on a layout. He's going to be a short price again, and he's just got money burner written all over him.
Especially if this field meets up again at Saratoga. You know how the masses love to go for Chad Brown, and you know, if he ends up in a spot like this one where he's got Ramon Dominguez and he looks like the horse to beat, they're going to overbet him, and he's just not that good, and these other horses have excuses out of this race.
I agree. I think you could argue that the winner ran a better race. You see he's inside there. I think that Mighty Lover, he was very game on the front end. I mean, he's actually really holding on well, and he battled the whole way. It wasn't a super fast pace, but considering the inner turf for these horses, it was a fair pace. The turf was good. It had taken some moisture. This was a better effort by him than it was by the horses who finished in front of him, and I'd love to see these horses meet up in a race at Saratoga. Mighty Lover will be 7-2. A Tetlon for Chad Brown will be even money, and Mighty Lover will beat him.
Yeah, I'd really like to see some kind of different scenario for Mighty Lover. You know, I thought if he either went to the lead or took him back a little bit more, you know, he probably would have been closer than the length and a half or so that he got beat. May have been able to win the race.
No question about it, and we will be seeing them at Saratoga. We'll be seeing you there, too. Want to remind people, next Trips and Traps, July 28th, the second week at Saratoga. Plenty of time to give us some help. Trips and Traps at NYRA.com.
Thanks for watching. See you upstate.